Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mugs and Hugs with Jennifer and
Heidi,
yes.
and our guest today is Anne-Marie Sabastiani.
Hi.
All right. So we are really excited to get this started. We have 5 questions for you, Anne-Marie. And then at the end, you get to ask us one. Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But before we begin with the questions, Anne-Marie, I'd love for you to tell our viewers just a little bit about you, just who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, first, I want to say thank you, Heidi and Jen, for asking me to be a part of this conversation. I feel really grateful for carving out the space and being here with you both and having these conversations. And I guess in a nutshell, a little bit about me over the course and the journey of my, career is that the essence of it is that I really help women professionals embed social consciousness more into effective strategies so that they can really make the impact that they're wanting to in their work and in their business and in their life. And so that's my essence, I would say, as far as my work personally. That's what I'm living trying to live into as well. And I also have 3 kids. I'm currently, campus supervisor to all of them, distance learning at home, and a dog and a cat, all in the same house together right now.
Awesome. So Anne-Marie, let's start out with the first question because we want to just dive right in. And we're going to go with a topic that's interesting to you today. We talked to you a little bit beforehand about what you're passionate about these days. So we'll go with that. If someone wants to look you up on the internet, what might they find? And what has been one of the proudest moments doing your work? And what do you contribute to that success?
Yeah, so I feel like if you Googled me, I'm not super, what's it called? You know how you have to be super savvy and know what tag words to put up to make a boost up to that, or, show what you're really showing. So knowing this question, I Googled me and it has a general prompt of I was like, okay, cool. That I help school leaders, really break through all the distractions so that they can make the impact that they want to. It talks about that. And it talks about my work in G3, the women's conference that I created. But what I've really been passionate about over the last year and a half, I haven't actively been putting it on Google or on my website and stuff, but it's something it's embedded in me that I'm definitely bringing into my life and into my work right now. The question on what's my proudest moment, that's a hard one, to really crystallize into one proud moment. But I think in the spirit of this conversation, talking with educators, one of the tools that I both use personally and I've been teaching and helping other educators with is mindfulness, right? And learning how to do mindfulness, bring mindfulness and meditation into your life. And I think it's those moments when you hit that educator or that person that you had no idea you would have an effect, or even they even heard what you said. I think back on an in-service that I did with a group of teachers, and I was talking to them about, the effects of mindfulness and how to bring it into your class. And I saw this teacher in the back the whole time, going like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, he hates it. I don't think he's getting it. And then afterwards, I finished my talk and he came up to me and I was a little nervous, and he, with the same head, he's like, that was so good what you said. It totally resonated with me. He might not use the word resonated, but it just totally hit him. I get it. I'm going to try it in my class. And it was a perfect example of you never know what's going to land for people, right? And so here's this educator who I really didn't think totally got it, and has since then been a champion for mindfulness in telling other people, and not just educators, but his students' parents and stuff. It's been such a trickle effect. So I think that's a good example of those little moments that make such a powerful difference, you know, personally, but then also what you see as how it's rippling out into the system and beyond.
What I love about that is you never know, you know, what you do and how that's going to trickle out. But also, you never know what people are taking in. Had he not made that connection with you and come up and spoken to you afterwards, you wouldn't have known that that trickle effect was happening.
And I feel like that happens a lot, not a lot, but it happens more, you know what I mean? And it's also such a good reminder of like, you just don't know. You don't know, right? The impact that you're having. Yeah.
All right, Jen, I'm
Excellent.
going to lead it off to you.
Okay,
I'm going to take a sip of my coffee.
sure. So it's a very simple question. What are you most passionate about right now?
Yeah. So I would say what I am most passionate about as far as really reflecting and looking at ways to actively bring this into my life personally and into my work is how to be more anti-racist, how to be and showing up more as an anti-racist person in my life. And I think the next question is how did I get that way? Or I can just segue into telling you why. I'll let you guys.
Yeah, no, that is perfect.
That's
So
great. Yeah, just
So
a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you
yeah, my
get there?
journey, I guess. So it was actually almost a year ago to this day. I have kids, and I realized I wasn't ever talking about race. I knew it was out there. I knew we had to kind of talk about it, but it felt very nebulous. So this is a year ago, right? So this is pre everything that's been going on this year. I had this idea. I'm like, okay, I really, I mean, I was clueless. Like, I just feel like I should have these conversations. They're teenagers. I should be a little more aware about this. So I actually signed up for a course by the woman named Laura Brewer, who's amazing. And it was called How to Hold Whiteness Responsibly. And I was very intrigued. I'm like, what's that? Like, what's that mean? Like, I mean, I know I'm white, but, you know, and I understood it, right? I understood the concept, but it's seriously, taking that course was one of the most impactful experiences I had in my entire life, because I got it on the most visceral level what white supremacy is and how I benefit as a white woman in our systems that is baked with white supremacy. And it was a very, what's the word? In one sense, your heart breaks open because you just really see the reality and the sadness of what this is all about. And it's really sad. It's really, and also there's this, I don't know if the word is willingness, the word is understanding that like, this is what needs to be continued to be explored and looked at and understood and talked about, and, you know, translating it out into the world. So where does it begin? It begins with me. And so it actually coincidentally, I don't know what the word would be. Weirdly, synchronistically, at the same time, my dad, as I shared with you pre this, he was not doing well health-wise, and he was nearing not doing, he had pancreatic cancer. And I was starting this journey of really learning about white supremacy and, you know, whiteness and how to be anti-racist. And my dad had this pure willingness, this genuine willingness of wanting to learn with me around this. And I was very surprised. Not, I mean, of course he'd be, but I don't know. I feel like for him, and then when he went into hospice, he was learning alongside with me. I was sharing podcasts with him. He read The Color of Law, which, if you don't know this book, it's like the most dense book possible, but he had a genuine curiosity and wanting to learn about this too, with me near the end of his life and into the end of his life. And I feel like that experience just anchored it even more as far as the legacy of like really reckoning with what is happening with white supremacy, and what do we do with that legacy wise with my own kids now, right? Like, how do we talk about this and rectify this? And then in my own work, like, how do I bring this into my own work so that we can lift up all people and break these systems that are holding everybody down. So that was my journey in learning, understanding, and now, being, being an accomplice as much as I can in this work right now.
Thank you so much. That being so open to share that and your journey with your father, and how what I was hearing was that commonality of that ripple effect, and you never know when it's going to come, how it's going to come.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I never thought of that.
Mm.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, it just, yeah, he passed away. Anyway, yes, he passed away in early March. And then a week later, shelter in place happened. And I had signed up a week later for an intensive with Robin DiAngelo. And I'm assuming everybody knows her now, but back then a lot of, people didn't really know. They knew her, but she wrote the book, White Fragility. And I did an intensive with her. And then a week later, shelter in place happened. And I think I had this period of 5 months of really just marinating in this experience with my dad, learning about anti-racism, and then the world being exposed with the death of George Floyd. And it was a complete, breaking of the, what the heck is going on, and what are we going to do about it? Yeah.
It was almost like the universe was just putting it in your face right then and there, like you had,
well,
like you had no
all about
choice.
Me, but if I wanted to make the story about me, it definitely was okay. Yes.
Yeah. And I love how you take that now and you want to give back. It's not just about you. You're saying, how I pass this to my children? How do we create this as a legacy, right? Yes. I love that.
Well, and it's also, I however explicitly I do it in my work, I know internally, it is the way, it is the way. It's there is no other way. We need to dismantle white supremacy. And so how do we do this? And it's incredibly overwhelming, right? It's so overwhelming. And that's where the EQ skills come in, right? It's yes. So,
so I'd love to hold on to that question of how do we do that? And I'm gonna pass the next one on to Jen, because I know she's got something for you, but I wanna hold on to that little question right towards the end.
Okay, thanks. And you mentioned that book, White Fragility, and I read it for a book study with our school, and I'd been doing equity work already, so it just really helped put a finer point on everything. And when it opened up, and then I have some teachers of color who are my colleagues that I do this equity work with, and they're like, well, we've always known this. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm glad that you read the book, and now what are you going to do about it? And I'm always trying to go from awareness to action. Mm-hmm. But not everybody's there yet. So mm-hmm. I'm sharing that so I can set up for this question. And where do I have it? Oh, here it is, because I want to make sure that I get it right, because we were crafting the wording of a certain way. So
okay, I'm going to put my hair back so I can really listen to this question.
All right. So if you could blow someone's mind about this topic, right? Mm. White supremacy, who would you want to meet on an elevator? And what would you say within that elevator ride to blow their mind about this topic of white supremacy?
Yes. So I feel like off the top, right? It's the way white supremacy is going to be dismantled is by no blowing away, right? It's like a drip. It's a drip. Mm. And it's very consistent. And it's just a drip of, you just keep on, right? Moving along and asking the questions with total compassion and curiosity, because that's where the opening is going to happen, right? It's not going to happen with me guess what? We got to learn about this. We know, there's no way, it's really just meeting the person where they are, whoever that person in the elevator is, and start with curiosity and compassion. And it really just leading. And I think you shared with me about, I forget the inquisitive, what was the framing that you said, the coaching, the affirmative.
Appreciative inquiry.
Yeah, just really with inquiry, like just really with a series of inquiry, because it's really only when we can truly see a person in their humanity, no matter who they are, if we just can find that essence in them, that is where we go, and we just kind of begin gently, just begin gently. And I know I'm not answering your question specifically. I would love a room full of, I love an elevator full, but it's, the reality is people are going to make change through trust, relationship, and time, right? It's not going to be a one-off and then I got them, you know, like it's only through the relationship and the trust that that person has in me at some level, and then being able to have time. It's a series, it's ongoing. It's always ongoing as far as like learning this.
Well, and you did answer my question too, because the question by nature was supposed to be very general, and then how does that question become interpreted through the person and through their content? So, you know, dealing with white supremacy, like the three of us are comfortable talking about it, but it's also very controversial. It's a triggering topic. People feel very passionately one way or another. And, you know, the word passion and compassion, you know, you kept on saying about meeting people where they are and with compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'm wondering if the more careful one needs to be with a person when it's that type of difficult conversation, and how we do that.
And I think you own it. Like, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. You know, you own the feeling around it. It's kind of like, I'm feeling kind of weird. I feel a little off. You might feel a little comfortable too, but you know, it's just kind of like owning where you are right now with it. And also allowing, so this is another tenet of white supremacy, is as white people, we are very, believe we should have comfort 24/7. Like we're going to do whatever we can to keep everybody comfortable, right? And so it's up to us to stretch ourselves and get uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable, and invite the discomfort, sit and be with the discomfort. There's nothing wrong with the discomfort. The more you can deepen your capacity and just being with the discomfort, just be in it, and invite the conversation and own how you're feeling around it.
Well, and Anne-Marie, what I really enjoyed about your response, being a person myself who has done a lot of personal work around my own emotional intelligence and just trying to be a better person, is there was no light bulb moment. There was no burning bush. It was, you know, the little drip that you talked about. And, you know, look back a decade and it's like, oh, wow. Look back 2 decades. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that I was going to get here. And had somebody tried to push it on me, or even I tried to push it on myself, it wouldn't have happened. And this is how human beings are designed. We're designed to be changing in every moment, in every second. Nature is that way. I mean, you watch a plant grow, right? And you get those, you know, as human beings, we like to watch the time-lapse video. It's like, you know, it doesn't grow that fast. And we don't either. So I like that idea of just, you know, planting the seed and then watching it grow little by little. But it takes consistency. It takes care and the right nutrients and the right environment and the right everything. So that's what's so great about having this conversation with you today, is that right now in this moment, we're doing our part of creating that drip. We're keeping it out there, keeping the conversation going. And the more people we can reach and the more we can talk about ourselves, the more we all grow. And that takes me into my last question for you is, and this is the one I asked you to hold on to, how do you see us taking this conversation into schools, and what would be the ideal outcome of that?
Yes. The answer is yes. Now, I think it goes back to start with yourself, right? It goes back to beginning to do your own personal work. So even as consultants, as a teacher, right, inviting them to do their own personal work in their relationship to white supremacy, whiteness, anti-racist, wherever they're at, you know, if they've been reading and learning and, you know, doing it, but really starting with you, and then, you know, moving it outward to, you know, other people who are curious and willing and wanting to do the work too, right? It's people are going to be way more open to it, who are open, and it's like how we talked about in our professional, right? We need to work with people who already have a willingness or a curiosity around it, whatever that, and even the most, you know, and it circles back to, and don't assume people don't have, you know, want to learn about it too. So I guess it's like also, I think what it is too, it's like, as the more you are living the work, people want to know about it and are curious about it too. And they're going to start asking you questions about it, or even how you framed something, or you said something, or you called somebody out on something, right? It's like, they're going to have a curiosity about that and want to learn more. That's what I just think, like how you were circling back to the whole organic thing. There is an essence of needing it to be organic. However, you cannot rely solely on organics too, right? It's also, I know I'm going all over the place, but I also think we do need to look at data, and kind of using data at school, like let's just say sense of belonging at schools. If 80% of our kids are not feeling a sense of belonging, there's something going on. And it might have a theme of white supremacy being infused in that. And what can we do as white educators? And I say white educators, we all are swimming in the racial waters. We've all been fed white supremacy. We're all digested it. We just, as white people, benefit the most from it. So we are totally colluding with it in ways that we're not even, we have so many blind spots we're not even aware of. But circling back to when we take this data, if we have this, how can we as white educators, and I say that because if you look at the general trend, most schools have white female educators, right? So how can we change to look at our own relationship with white supremacy to become more anti-racist in our work? And I want to drop two educator names who are awesome. They're named Bettina Love and Dina Simmons. Those are the women that I would love to meet in the elevator and just be like, you're awesome. I just want to listen to you. I want to receive everything that you're saying, because I think they have an amazing understanding of mental health in schools and our system as well. So I would highly, recommend those two educators in this work for sure, particularly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and what I love about that is, you know, as a mindfulness consultant, as a consultant that goes into schools to try to create systemic change myself, I believe in that too, that it is starting with the individual and then it just trickles out from there. And I tell people that all the time when they come to me and say, well, what's the best, what's the best SEL program that I can bring to my school? Well, there isn't just one, right? And I've seen schools where they get caught up on, okay, we have to use this one program because it tells us all our data, but then there's no tools around it. Or here's this one that's all tools, but there's no data. Or here's this one that it's just too much in a box, you know, and it's not that simple. It's all of it. So I'm glad that you brought up the data, because the data gives us information. And then, you know, the curriculum that's in a box gives us some strategies, but then how do we make that personal to all of us? Yeah. And how do we keep that curiosity and make it a way of being? Because that's basically what it comes down to. So I always say, I'm not here to bring you an SEL program. I'm here to help you build a culture and a climate, because that's the way of being, right?
Well, and it's so interesting how Heidi knows this, that I've been really loving the word curious. And you mentioned it so many times in our conversation. So, you know, I've been playing around with the term of curious leadership. And, you know, being a certified appreciative inquiry facilitator, the questions that you ask will dictate the outcome, right? And so I try to instill in students to be curious and just say, well, I wonder what would happen if, or I wonder what's going on about this, and to look for the answer and how you might do that. And to your point about being anti-racist, white supremacy, I was saying that there are students that I teach right now behind the screen. Some of them, because of the name, I'm not sure if it's a male student or a female student. Not that that would make a difference one way or another. Trans student, Black student, white student, student of color. I know nothing but just a name. And I said, I wonder if there will be less reports of students feeling discriminated against because of that. And I don't know what that means. And I'm having the courage to just put that out there. Is that a possibility to look for these opportunities through teaching behind a screen, because we're not in person now? Could we leverage that? What might that mean? So
I like it. Stay curious, right? Stay with the inquiry of that. I think that's a great inquiry. Yeah.
So then in that, to wrap everything up, in the spirit of inquiry, what question do you have for us?
Well, I mean, I could either ask you a question on what you found most reflectful in our conversation together, or, you know, having the conversation that we had right now. I guess I could also ask, you know, I want either one. I could either ask, you know, what, having our conversation right now, what was, I guess, the most meaningful or valuable part for you and us talking? And you could take it either as, you know, your conversations, our conversations, this experience, whatever.
Well, I'd like to go if I can. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for being here today and for bringing this topic, because it's not like we chose the topic. We just asked you what you were passionate about. So for me, what was most meaningful was the way you came about this topic and the impact that it had on you with that relationship with your dad and the timing of what's happening in the world and just all of that. And I mean, it's been something that's been on my mind, but not to the extent that it has for you. And I found it very energizing today, and it makes me want to go out and, you know, do my part to create more of a legacy around this. So yeah, for me, that's how it impacted me. Thank you.
Thank you.
The same thing too. Realizing that what you are finding that's so important to you right now and so passionate right now, how that's now, you know, honoring the memory of your father and the relationship that the two of you had. How there's a topic that is surrounded with a lot of pain in people's lives. And when I'm sure it was a very difficult time in your life as well, with your father transitioning, that it's now a way for you to do so much good in the world. I just find that extremely inspiring and uplifting, that through pain, there's also hope for us to elevate humankind.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, with that, we can close out. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, Anne-Marie. And until next time.
Mugs.
Thank you.
We've got our mugs, and let me see. I don't know if I can do my mug and print screen at the same time, but we shall see. Here we go. Oh my goodness, this is awkward. Well, I won't tell you what. You do that, and I will just have my mug right here. Okay.
And we encourage our viewers to bring their mugs out, whether it be these mugs or these mugs. Yeah.
And here's our hugs. Hug you all. Thank you.
Awesome. Am I leaving or am I?